Okay, so today I want to show you this OLED display that's bright, has decent resolution, big size, and comes in a few different colors. I mean, on paper it looks like a perfect display, so why was it sitting on my shelf for so many years? Well, there is a reason for that, and not just one. The first reason becomes obvious once you flip the display and show the underlying PCB, as there is almost no information in here. I mean, there is no module name, no resolution, no size, no chip name, and the most important part, those pins are not labeled. So if you ever design your own PCB, please make sure to include as much information as possible, because there is never enough information. Also, if you ever design your own PCB, you should know that the sponsor of today's video is PCBWay, and you can use the link down in the description and get 10 PCBs for free, only paying for shipping. And if you don't need PCBs, you can get services like 3D printing, CNC machining, or even injection molding, all for a reasonable price. So thank you PCBWay for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to our project. So looking at the PCB, pretty much the only information that's in there is this small table which describes the connection. Because this display uses the SSD1322 chip that supports multiple different connections, but I think that it will be easier to explain with a different display. Because I have this module that has the 128x64 pixel OLED display, and that display is driven by the SSD1306 chip. And that chip also supports a few different connections, the main two being the I2C and the SPI connection, and you define which connection to use by pulling some pins to high state or to low state, so connecting some of those pins to the ground or some of those pins to the 5 volts. However, most of the time you don't have to think about it, because once you buy a module, that's already done for you. This is the SPI module, so the PCB has connections made in the way that it tells the SSD1306 chip to use the SPI connection, and you have labeled SPI pins. On the other hand, this is the I2C module. It uses the very same display with the very same SSD1306 chip, but this time the PCB is done in a way that it sets the chip to use the I2C connection, and therefore those pins are labeled for the I2C connection. So in theory, there is nothing stopping you to create a PCB when you can switch between the I2C connection and the SPI connection, either using some pins or by soldering some connections. And that's exactly what's happening in here. There are 4 connections labeled R5, R6, R7 and R8, and by connecting or disconnecting some of them, you switch between the 3-wire SPI, the 4-wire SPI, 8080 and 6800 connection. And if you look closely, there are 0 ohm resistors, which are pretty much just wires, but it's hard to place wires with the pick and place machine, so these 0 ohm resistors are used instead, and those are placed on positions R6 and R8. And looking at the table, that means that the 8080 connection is used by default. Now there is nothing wrong with the 8080 connection, and in fact the graphic library that I would like to use, the U8G2 library, does support this type of connection, but it requires a lot of wires, I think like 13 or 14 wires, and so I think it will be much easier to just use the 4-wire SPI connection. So before we do anything else, the very first step would be picking the soldering iron and making sure that the positions R5 and R8 are soldered, which means desoldering the 0 ohm resistor from the position R6 and connecting the position R5. And I don't think that we need to solder the 0 ohm resistor back, and we can just put a little bit more soldering wire to bridge this gap. Okay, so with this change done, it's time to Google those pins. Now we already know that those 16 pins are there because the 8080 connection requires a lot of them, and that labeling them would be harder because those pins are different based on the selected connection method, but I mean that shouldn't be an excuse, at least the power and ground will be always the same. Anyway, let's Google those pins, and I have found this image. And let's start by identifying pins that we do need and the pins that we don't need. We do need VSS, which will be ground, and we do need the VCC, which will be power, most likely 5 volts, but maybe it could be 3.3 volts, I mean, there is very little information about this display. The NC means not connected, so we will not connect this one. Then we have CLK, which is the clock pin, we do need that one, as well as the data in pin. But we don't need any of those additional data pins, so the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, we don't need any of that. I don't think that we need the enable pin or the read-write pin, although this one is quite interesting because you can read the content of the display. Unfortunately, that's not supported with the SPI connection. We do need the data comment pin, the reset pin and the chip select pin. Now, I don't quite like the layout of this table because if you look at the pins, we have 1, 2, and then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on until 15 and 16. So it's not quite aligned with this table. So let me actually visualize those pins like that and then copy the names of those pins, which will make it easier to visualize those connections. And let me actually hide this table and instead show the Arduino Uno pinout, because that will be the first microcontroller that I want to use together with this display. We will start with the SPI pins because those are predefined, and those are those 4 pins. Starting with the pin SCK, which is the serial clock, and that should be connected to the clock pin, which is the pin number 4. The next one is MISO, so master in, slave out, meaning the slave, the display, is sending data into the Arduino, which is not happening in this case. Then we have MOSI, so the master out, slave in, the data coming from the Arduino to the display itself. And that's the data in pin on the display, so pin number 5. The next one is SS, which means slave select or chip select, and that will be connected to the chip select pin, which is the pin number 16. And then we have data comment pin and reset pin, and we can connect those to any digital pins. So let's, for example, connect those to pin number D9 for the chip select pin and the D8 for the reset pin, and it's getting slightly crowded. The last 2 pins, the 5V and ground, we will connect to the 5V pin and the ground pin on the left side of the Arduino Uno board. So let's keep this connection in mind and connect the real display to the real Arduino Uno. Thankfully, we only have 7 pins that need to be connected, so it should be fairly straightforward. The only pins that are predefined are the clock pin, which is the D13 on the Uno, and the data pin, which is the D11. I mean, the chip select is being defined on the pin D10, but I think that we can also connect it to a different pin if we want to. And so with all the 7 pins connected, let's jump into the Arduino IDE. Now, just because we want to use the U8G2 library, we need to install it first by going into libraries and then typing U8G2 and then install this library. Then we can go to File, Examples, find the U8G2 library, and unfortunately this time we cannot use the full frame buffer examples because we have the display with the resolution of 256 by 64 pixels. So we have about 16,000 pixels, for which we need about 16,000 bits, or if we divide it by 8, we need 2048 bytes. And that's the exact size of the Arduino Uno RAM, which means that we wouldn't be able to fit anything else in there. So instead we will select the page buffer, which will use a smaller frame buffer that will fit on the Uno, and let's for example open the Hello World example. In this sketch we have a lot of initializations. I will actually delete all of them except for one. And even that one I will keep commented out. And then I will open this GitHub page, because it has all the initializations, and we already know that our display uses the SSD1322 chip with the resolution of 256 by 64 pixels. So let's for example go with this one. And we want to use the 4-wire hardware SPI connection, and the 1 and 2 are for the page mode, while the F is for the full frame buffer. So we will go with this one. Let's just copy it and paste it into the Arduino sketch, and then name it U8G2 and set the rotation to be R0. And if I show the connection image, we've defined the chip select pin to be connected to the pin 10 on the Uno, the data comment pin should be connected to pin number 9, and then the optional reset pin, that one should be connected to pin number 8 on the Uno. Again, we don't define the pin for data in and for the clock pin because those are predefined on the Uno, being the pins 11 and 13. And I don't think that we need those commented out sections, so let's delete all of them. And we are left with a very simple sketch that only takes a few lines. Let's connect the Arduino to the PC using the USB cable and make sure that the correct board is selected. Again, that's the Arduino Uno. And the correct port is being selected, in my case that's the COM number 7. And then we can click the upload button to compile this sketch and upload it to the Uno board. And if everything is connected properly, we should see the message Hello World on the display, which is the case. And I think it looks great, but it's hard to tell if the rest of the display also works, so let's maybe expand this message a little bit and show some longer label. And we can type in anything, because the only intention is to make sure that the rest of the display also works. And while we do this, let's for example also print something on the second line as well. And adjust the Y position accordingly, and let's try to upload it one more time. And it looks correct, but it's actually not. If you look closely, we are missing the very last character of our message on the first line, and I thought that maybe this character is missing in the font, but it's actually there. So we have a different problem, and it took me a while to realize what's going on. Eventually I did find the answer in the documentation, because we need to enable the 16-bit mode, because without the 16-bit mode all the calculations are done in the 8-bit mode, and that limits the usable resolution to be 240 by 240 pixels, so for our display, which is 256 pixel wide, we are actually missing those last few pixels. Which means that we need to open the u8g2.h file from the u8g2 library, and uncomment this line saying define u8g2 16-bit. Then of course we need to save that file, and then we can try to upload our sketch one more time. And now we should see the message without any missing characters. So I think that for the next step, we can show some full screen image being 256 by 64 pixels, and the nice thing is that this is the double resolution of the 128 by 64 pixels, and I have a lot of projects for this resolution, so I think that maybe I can just combine two of those screens for this display. I did combine the parking sensor project screen with the tire pressure screen and end up with this design. By the way, if you are interested in those projects, I will put the links to those videos down in the description. So now when we have this image, it's time to show it on this OLED display. And to do that, we need to first convert this image into the C-style array, and for that I will use the image2cpp website and select that image. And pretty much the only thing that we need to do in here is to click this checkbox to make sure it will work with the u8g2 library, and then click generate code and copy the output, and then back inside the Arduino IDE, let's click those three dots and select a new tab, which means a new file, and call this images.h file, and just paste the content in here. Then make sure that this file is being referenced in the main INO file, so include this file being the images.h file. And then we want to draw that image, and for that we will open the documentation for the u8g2 library and search for the drawxbmp function, which is this one. Just copy this example into the clipboard and paste it in there instead of writing those labels. And we know that our image is 256 by 64 pixels. And the data for that image is being stored inside this images.h file, so that's this array. So let's just copy the name of the array and paste it in there. And this is actually not the function that we are looking for, because there are two very similar functions, one being the drawxbm and the other one being the drawxbmp. And while the first one draws the image from RAM, the second one, the drawxbmp, draws the image from the program memory. And if you look inside the images.h file, our images are stored inside the program memory, which means that we need to use the drawxbmp function instead. And with this change, we can click the upload button to upload this sketch to the Arduino Uno board. And now we see this full screen image on this nice looking OLED display. Now this blue OLED display reminds me of my favorite VFD display, which has actually very similar resolution. It's just slightly bigger, but it looks great. I will put the link to my project with this display down in the description. But for now, I want to do one more thing, and that is to use this display with this small show board that has the ESP32S3. And just because the ESP32 has much more memory, we should be able to use a full screen frame buffer this time. Let's start by opening the documentation for the seed show board, because the first things first, we need to install the support for this board into the Arduino IDE. And let me scroll down to find this JSON file. So we need to make sure that this JSON file is actually placed inside the file preferences and inside this dialog. So we should just place the JSON file in here. And then we need to go to the boards manager and type in ESP32 and install the support for ESP32 boards by Espressif Systems. I will actually not start with this sketch because I want to use the full screen frame buffer, and for drawing on the full screen frame buffer this is slightly different than using the page mode. If we go to the file examples and locate the u8g2 library and open the hello world example for the full frame buffer, you see down here that the drawing function is slightly different. We first clear the buffer, then draw something to the buffer and then send the buffer to the display. So let me actually delete all those constructors and then paste our own constructor, but change the number 1 to be the letter F for the full screen frame buffer. And then same as in here, I will create a new file, a new tab, and call this images.h file. And copy the data from here into that file, and of course include that file in the sketch, like so. And then draw the image using the drawxbmp function. That's very same for using the page mode as well as using the full screen buffer mode. Now we don't need this sketch anymore, but before we upload this to the show board, we need to change those pins because those pins will most likely be slightly different compared to the Arduino Uno board. So here is the pinout for the show board, and same as with the Arduino Uno board, those MOSI, MISO and SCK pins for the SPI connections are predefined. So the master out slave in, that's the data pin, that will go to this pin, the data pin. Then the SCK is the clock pin, that will go into the clock pin, which is the pin number 4. And then it's up to us where to connect all the other pins. So for example, we can connect the chip select pin to pin number D7, the reset pin to be connected to pin number D0, and finally the data comment pin to be connected to pin number D1. Same as the last time, we will connect the pins 1 and 2 to ground and power source, but this time we will use the 3.3 volt pin. So in the end, the connection might look something like this. So inside the Arduino sketch, the chip select pin should be connected to the digital pin number 7, the data comment pin should be connected to pin D1, and the reset pin will be connected to pin number D0. Again, since this is the hardware SPI connection, we don't need to define pins for data and clock, but we do need to connect them to pins D10 and D8. So with the change like this, we can go to Tools, Board, ESP32, and then search for the Show ESP32S3. That's this board. Then connect the Show board to the PC using the USB-C cable, and then go to Tools, Port, and select the correct port, which in my case is the COM number 13, and then hit the Upload button. Once this is uploaded, I will disconnect the show board from the USB cable just to stay on the safe side, and then we can look at the previous drawing and start connecting wires between the show board and the display. The only thing to keep in mind is that this drawing of the show board is displayed from the front, with the USB on top, but we are actually connecting the wires from the bottom of the board. So the power pins and most of the SPI pins are on the right side, and then on the left side of the board we have the reset pin and the data comment pin. So with everything connected like this, let's try to again plug the show board to the USB cable, actually of course the USB cable to the show board, and if everything is connected properly, we should see the very same full screen image on this OLED display. Now I have this OLED display in a few different colors. Unfortunately, if I want to use a different display, I need to disconnect those wires and then connect them to the other display in the very same way. I mean, it will be much easier if I can use breadboard, but because of this double pin header on the OLED display, that's unfortunately not possible. So let me connect another display, and this one seems to be white, which looks nice as well. And then I have this one, and this one seems to be yellow. Actually, I have 3 more displays where everything is exactly the same except for the screen size. One set of displays is smaller, being 2.8 inches, and the other set is slightly bigger, with the display size being 3.12 inches. So there is a lot to choose from, both for the size and the color, and I really like those displays and I will try to use them for my future projects. In the meantime, all the source files are on GitHub, the link is in the description. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks and bye.